Diabo from Kenya.
Fiti, tuko fiti wananchi. Today I'm joined by Elizabeth Adiengo, and of course she was recently crowned the African champion in middleweight.
Yes.
Yes, in a championship in Africa. Tell me more about it.
It was a tough competition. Yeah, so that was the current African champion. So I was just looking towards her, and I was like, this time round, you're not going to defeat me. Yeah, so I did my all best to defeat her, and she had no choice but to accept the defeat. So I can say I'm the African champion for now. If you beat the champ, you're the champ.
So how do you celebrate?
So just pop.
Yeah! Celebrating the Kenyan champion, yeah!
I started boxing way in 2008. Yeah. So I started just as a way of fitness, and then the coach over there was like, you're getting good at this, so why not try for the tournament? I was like, really? So I trained for 3 months, and I was on my first tournament, which was held in Kibera. So I won that fight, and it felt great, and from there, henceforth, I've been stuck into boxing. So from 2008, I've been the current middleweight champion till now. Yeah. So it's all about hard work and determination, and also passion.
What actually motivated you to join boxing? Because most people you talk to, they come from harsh backgrounds. Others, something happened to them. I remember there's a time I met women in, Komarok, the Washosho,
yeah.
And they were trying to do, I don't know if it's boxing or whatever martial arts, because they were saying it prevents them against people who are molesting old women. What motivated? What is your story?
My story was just to be strong, get fit, and also to be able to defend myself. Since I was coming from the hood, and it's all about crime and violence, so you just have to have a skill to defend yourself. So I was like, why not try boxing?
So saizi wakikuona nasema give way for the champion.
So, yeah, just fear. Yeah, my first Olympics was 2012. That was the first time the women were boxing in the Olympics, and I was so proud to be there. The qualifiers for that time were World Championship, which was held in China. So though I lost that bout, but due to some review, they saw that I had won the bout, and that from there I was given a wild card to represent Kenya in the 2012 London Olympics. So I can say it was a great experience for me to be in that world-class environment with different athletes from all over the world, different disciplines. It was so much fun and great. Yeah, so by that time I can say I was not that much experienced. But with time now, I've gained a lot of experience going to different competition, World Championship, Commonwealth Games. So I think I've built up enough to be able to get even a medal in the Olympics.
And Elizabeth, I remember you were so excited when you went to London 2012 as the first Kenyan lady. You have actually achieved a lot. We'll be talking about that. But then something bad happened and it set you back. That was quite nasty. Pole for that.
All right. Yeah, it was a bad accident that happened way in 2015. But now I'm fully recovered. So I can say it was a big setup because I was training for 2015 All Africa Games, which also was preparation towards Rio 2016 Olympics. So that laid me down. So I didn't participate in the African All Africa Games and Rio 2016 Olympic Games. So from there, I was just out. Nothing much to do. I gained a lot of weight. My self-esteem was down. I was like, this is not me. I have to do something and just be back. So I can say I had some friends who helped me out. I went for surgery so that I could be able to walk and train again. I'm thankful to them. And I started training back in 2017, yeah. That's when I then started training slowly. And my next match I was looking towards was 2018 Commonwealth Games. Yeah, so from then on I just trained and I just showed up in the trials for the Commonwealth Games, and people were like, Idris is back, and they were shocked. They were like, how? Oh, I was like, I'm here, I'm ready. So I was there for the trials, I won the trials, and I went for the Commonwealth Games, and from henceforward I was like, I am the best, I have to do this. I just have to push on every day.
I understand where you're coming from, and I'm happy that you're able to get back, because it does not just affect you physically but mentally as well. I've been there, I broke a leg, and although I'm wearing a glove, I cannot move a lot, because in boxing you have to, there are stance you have to make. So I understand, but now I think you're okay.
Yeah,
and I'm happy. I'm
now.
happy about that, and now we can take a seat and talk about you. And talking about Elizabeth, she has actually achieved many firsts for Kenyan ladies, Kenyan female. We celebrate all of them in sports. And apart from being the first Kenyan female boxer to make it to the Olympics, she's also the first Kenyan female captain. We didn't have many of them in the past. So what have you done since then?
I can say I'm proud first to be the first national team captain as a woman. There has never been any, so I'm the first one. I'm feeling proud, I'm feeling great, and I thank the coaches and the boxers that have believed in me, that I'm able to lead them to victory. So towards the last games, we've been able to qualify to get medals in the African Championship, 2022 African Championship and 2023 African Championships. Yeah, so I think with my great leadership, we're doing good.
I like that. That way.
Yeah.
I'm learning. I will be a boxer one day in future, in another life. So for young girls out there, this is a sport that you can use for protection and also for fitness and a lot of things, because it teaches also about discipline. It's not just going around boxing everybody you see around, ama unafanya watu wanakuogopa, sio hivyo, si ndio? So hebu waeleze.
I can say boxing is fun. It's a way of fitness. Just if you're around anywhere in Nairobi, just find a boxing gym, try it out, and completely fall in love with the sport. If you're not like boxing professionally, but just as a way of fitness, it will help you through. So I'm also a trainer. I'm a boxing coach also. I train men and women who want to lose weight and be fit through boxing. So I'm all-rounder. I say boxing is fun, so once you start it, you can't stop. I also started as a way of fitness, and till now I'm still boxing. So wherever you are, look out for a boxing gym and try it out as a way of fitness and a way of self-defense. So you will tell me it's addictive, and you will enjoy. If you're trying to lose weight, a lot. It's just a full body workout. And also currently I'm training young boys and girls at Kayole Social Hall. The future champions will be coming up right from Kayole. So I'm looking towards all your support, and I think we can make great champions over there. Thank you.
Let's hope that more female boxers will follow suit, as she has set the path, and only you ndio umebaki. So let's hope that you join suit. Wacha tuoneshe some of the stance. Leo nimekuwa kocha wake. Sasa vaa glove. Tuonyeshe basi vile skills kidogo tu hivi kidogo. Hata mimi najua. Kazi kwako. Mfunga vibaya. Tight. Isitoke. Bas.
A very good morning to you. My name is Daniel Wahome and welcome to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It is the first Monday of October 2010, and conversations around sports events that happened in the last week and one that's going to be happening over this weekend. One of actually the three events that will be taking place over the weekend. You know that Kenya is playing against Cameroon in Kampala on Monday. We've got the Africa Cycling Championships. You know, we touched on that last week, and also we've got a bodybuilding event that's taking place in Nairobi on the 12th. So this Huduma Day weekend, there is a lot of sport happening. And also last week, Kenya hosted 5 other nations in the International Cricket Council, the Cricket World Cup Challenge League A, and that was taking place at the Ruaraka grounds and also at the Nairobi Gymkhana grounds. Kenya fourth on the log. Coach Joseph Angara will be coming to talk to us about that and how Kenya performed in that event. But also before we do that, let's just take a look at our diary. And what's the big story? All started last week, through the weekend, and yesterday we had His Excellency the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua apologize to the President, and this is because of the motion for the impeachment of the Deputy President, which was presented to the National Assembly by the Honorable Ekomas Mwengi Mutuse of Kibwezi West constituency. Tomorrow is when it's going to be on the floor of the National Assembly. It's a developing story. What is going on? What's the latest on that? We know that our news team is going to be keeping their eyes on the tracks for that as the story develops. And also the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development, the Honorable Justin Muturi, is going to be making his inaugural visit to the Huduma Kenya Secretariat offices, and this is at the Huduma Center, the Huduma Contact and Telecounseling Center that is based in the capital Nairobi at GPO. Then also happening at the Safari Park Hotel, we've got the Prime Cabinet Secretary, who's also the Cabinet Secretary for Foreign Affairs and for Foreign and Diaspora Affairs, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi. And we also have got the Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Honorable John Mbadi, the Kenya Revenue Authority Board Chairman, Mr. Anthony Mwaura, and the Kenya Revenue Authority Commissioner General, Mr. Humphrey Watanga. They will be addressing, the public and those who are, especially those who are doing import and export trade, about the KRA Summit for 2024, which is themed Powering Trade Facilitation and Domestic Resource Mobilization in the Digital Age. We've got our business team that is covering that. And also remember, every 2 years, the Council of Governors has got a change of office. That's another story that we shall have our eyes on. Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru has served the terms as the chair of the Council of Governors over 2 years each. And so there's going to be a change of guard at the helm of the leadership of the County Bosses Lobby Group. So the governors who have been making their moves and trying to make sure that, make their headway and see that they get, to hold that position. We've got Governors Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir County, the Honorable Governor Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, Governor Johnson Sakaja of Nairobi, Governor Joseph Olelenku of Kajiado, and Governor Mudhomi Njoke of Tharaka Nithi. And taking a look at it, we've got no less than 3 second-term governors who are going for the top seat. So those are part of the stories that we are going to be keeping tabs on within our news cycle this morning. So all that right here on Sports Check this Monday morning. But now straight to our first conversation, and it is about the stories. Depending on which generation you come from, some say there are those who use the simple terms lifting weights. There are those who say you're pumping, ilingine kuinua chuma, depending on where you come from. But all of it is all around your fitness and making sure that you're in tip-top shape and how it works for that. And at the end of the day, there are those who do it as a pastime, and there are those who do it professionally and compete besides training others into that. So this weekend, we've got the Mr. and Miss East Africa Bodybuilding Championships. They will be taking place at the Sarit Expo Center. That is on the 12th that evening. So there is a lot that we are going to see. And the different weight classes that will be competing, how do they categorize those people? Because you may look at somebody, think they weigh 90 kgs, but when they tell you their weight, you do get surprised. And what about to do that, the event organizers are here with us, and one is actually a champion bodybuilder. We go ladies first. Evelyn Okinyi, welcome.
Thank you.
And also, we've got Kelvin Wangi, who's also a fitness trainer. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and let's just start with this. I'll start with you, Kevin, before I come into this. Is looking at the other two editions of the Mr. and Ms. East Africa Bodybuilding Contest. The 2024 edition is different. Last year, you were in Eldoret.
Yes, the first and the second one.
The first
based in Eldoret.
At Rupa's. Now,
Mall.
let's talk about this third one and the lessons learned from the first two events.
The lessons learned from the first two events is first, we noticed that most of our traffic was obviously coming from Nairobi. So, they're going through the cost of things like accommodation, transport. So we wanted to give them some extra convenience. And that's why we decided to move it closer to Nairobi, which is also more central when it comes to also looking at things like logistics, because also we are hosting athletes from all over Nairobi. So they're also landing in Nairobi and then having to connect to Eldoret. So we decided to now make it more convenient to have it more at a central location.
Right. That is in terms of the overall planning, because majority of those. And what about for those who are coming in from, other countries? Last year we had Majuru from
Tanzania.
Eric Majura from Tanzania winning the men's division.
Yes.
Over the overall men's division. Yes. Just tell us how you handle those from outside.
In terms of awarding? Or
No. The logistics for the non-Kenyan competitors.
So for those, the logistics, we have like a WhatsApp group where now all the registered athletes are able to now ask the questions if they're having trouble when it comes to probably transport, accommodation. That's why we're able to assist them on where they can get more convenient, locations where they can live, and also based on proximity to the venue, so that there is less of a hassle when it comes to them commuting and getting to the event.
Okay, so now let's come to you, Evelyn. And you have been competing not just in the local scene but also outside of Africa. Just give us, a whole outlook onto the bodybuilding scene in East Africa and Africa as a whole before we come down to Kenya about how you get these athletes ready for this.
Okay, first of all, I must start by saying that muscle is an organ of longevity, and being that this is a very beautiful sport in itself, because you get to gather muscle for the purposes of competition, but it does not only benefit you in that purpose, it also benefits the fact that your health and fitness is top-notch. But apart from that, in other aspects, when I look at the development of the sport and how much it has developed and come up, I'm very amazed at the number of athletes we are currently having, especially when it comes to this championship, which has since grown from the initial point where the sport was not, known, and right now everybody knows that we are going to have this championship. As a pro bodybuilder, it takes a lot of effort, especially because we are, and I'm not shy to say this, we are in an athletic-dominated country, or rather...
Actually, it's true. Kenya is an athletics country. We say we love foreign football.
Yes, we say we love a lot of sports, but I think we focus a lot of our energy towards athletics. Yet something like bodybuilding has a big fan base. We have so many athletes. This championship itself is going to host over 200 athletes from all over East Africa, and of which that lineup has women in it, right? Women who have worked so hard and are showcasing muscle, right? So this is just amazing for me. I feel like it's like leaving a legacy in itself, because when I started doing this, there were very few women, and we were far apart, who were able to stand on stage in bikinis and we were being criticized for doing so. And right now they understand that just like swimming, it's a sport.
Well, actually, I'll be coming to that, attracting women, to get into this sport. And looking at, the numbers that you have as organizers and how you are able to break them down such that you can have this event within one good evening, as you do eliminate them and all that. Just give us, a whole outlook as to how you manage this are given
First of all,
categories?
the event actually runs from 9 a.m. to late into the night on Saturday 12th at Sarit Expo. And apart from that, there are different divisions. Divisions it's an athlete and a coach may decide a division, but that is purely based on how the body looks like against the parameters that have been put. For example, let me try and explain. I am a wellness athlete, which means my lower body naturally is heavier than my upper body. In short, I am the African hourglass of bodybuilding. Yeah. There is bikini, which what an African would say, the skinny athletes. So they are petite, but they have muscle in that skinny body, right? And then there is the figure, which are more muscular and they kind of appear to be, you know, triangular in shape, but they're not triangular per se. It's called an X shape. So there's a shape they portray that is called an X shape. This shape is also needed of, let's say, bodybuilders' physique. So it depends on the structure of the body. That given aside, the classification is also done according to the weights.
So the first three that you've given apply to women?
Yeah.
Yes.
And there are more categories for women, but in this particular championship, we are going to run with these three, first of all. Then for men, we have different categories as well, determined by the same.
So let's talk about, because you've spoken about the three, and how do you then pick somebody? Okay, for example, you said about the hourglass.
Yeah.
Now that, to use a simple term, it's simply first look at the athlete and visual and place them there. And every athlete knows they're coming into that. Yes.
You see, they're judges. An athlete gets to decide that I'm competing. You know, an athlete can decide that I'm running 100 meters, for example, if it's an athletic competition, right? And they feel they are able to run 100 meters. So the judge or whoever is the referee or whoever will not tell them not to run the 100 meters.
The clock will...
Exactly.
The clock will catch them.
Exactly. So it is up to the athlete and the coach to decide which category they feel the athlete best fits. Once they decide that, they will compete against each other. All right? So they compete against each other to get the winner of the division. That is how it works. Yeah.
Okay. So there it is. And the other one that, you know, everyone takes a look at, and let me come to Calvin, is the weight divisions. Because we look at different different athletes, different builds, people, different, how would I classify, different skeletal frames. Just tell us how you categorize these people and the weight divisions that you use.
So for the men, we usually have the most athletes as compared to women. And of course, we say people have different body types, right from the small, the lightweights, going to bantam, light, heavy, all the way to the super heavy. So when you look at this, when all the athletes come, we also have we separate them into two classes, class A, B. Now also depending on the height, which is also one of the lessons we've learned. Unlike the previous competitions where you'll get all the athletes coming in regardless of whether you're tall or short. You can imagine you can get somebody who's short weighing 80 kilos and somebody else who's tall at the same weight. And when you look at the muscle density, it will not be the same. So you'll not be able to compare them.
A rugby prop and probably a 400-meter runner.
Yes. So we usually we split them into now the two classes based on height, and then now have now the winner of the class A and B come and battle it out now to get to the final.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the threshold for height? How tall would you be what would be the height you're looking at?
Really, there is no threshold, because you see some things you can't dictate that.
Let me just try and okay. Let me say I stand at 5 foot. I stand at 5'9". There's somebody who probably stands at 6'1", 6'2". But for me, I am short but stout. For him, he's lean.
Now, depending on the number of athletes, we'll be able to now. If you have majority being short, now you see you can't say all the short are competing, separately against each other, and maybe the only few tall men. So we'll also look at the numbers. so that now we're able to know where we'll be the cutoff to now separate those two classes.
Oh, so it's ideally the numbers, and so it's,
Yes.
to use a correct term, it just averages them.
Yes.
All right. Now, let's now come to, preparing for this event. And this is where I would like you to come in and demystify this sport so that people don't see, bodybuilding as, a sport where people bulk up so that you can be dressed, become one of the men in black. Their services offered are usually at times not so pleasant. But Evelyn, you've got a very interesting story for you to get into this, and how you've transformed, from those days when everyone would just make fun of you, and now everyone is in awe of you.
Yeah. So I think it's very interesting. There's the first bit that you've mentioned there, that bodybuilders are sometimes stereotyped, because I'll say it's a stereotype because it's not the exact scenario. To only, in fact, I don't know why people would come to me to ask for bouncers. Just the way you can know a bouncer, I would know one. But if
it has happened.
Yeah, people will ask me, and it's not like I have bouncers somewhere. Most of these people have career jobs. I was a banker. They're doctors. There are people of all sorts of career doing bodybuilding. So the random assumption that having muscle means that you are a bouncer is very misplaced in itself, right? I would know a bouncer just the way anyone else would. Yeah, but that aside, it's interesting to grow into it, especially in Africa, because it's taken a bit of time, especially in Kenya, for people to be able to understand what bodybuilding exactly is. And that's why we are very excited, especially with the upcoming event. This is an avenue to get to meet these people and interact with them and get to understand that, hey, bodybuilding is not about bouncers. You will interact with them, you will meet doctors, you will meet trainers, you will meet teachers, you will meet all sorts of people in different career. Yeah.
So to add on to that, back in the day, in the early 90s, all the way to the early 2000s, bodybuilding, most people looked at the gym life because you need to allocate a lot of time to it. There's a lot of commitment. So most of the people who have a lot of time to their hands are people who probably don't have these white-collar jobs. So bodybuilding started in the slums. So now most people would now relate people who have good physiques as people who are not, they don't have money, or they have a lot of free time to, go to the gym. So that's why people
they use
look
it now
down the sport. But
to eventually lift people up and
yes,
all of that.
But over time, things have evolved, and also through COVID, people have become more cognizant about their health and wellness. And so this thing has escalated. It's gone to the point that now fitness has really peaked. So you've even noticed that now gyms were mostly in the Eastlands, but now they've gone now to the upside of town, so you can get gyms also all over, in even malls.
Uptown gyms were treadmills at one point.
Yeah, and also, just to add on to what he's saying, for me, when I changed my career from banking to do this, one goal that I really had is to create a reasonable career out of it, so that somebody can be motivated to steer their path through it. And for sure, we have mentored, me and Kevin have mentored, and many other people out there have mentored successful people, for sure. Yeah.
And here's the thing, let me just come back to you, Evelyn. Your story is transformative. From the moment you got into this and eventually quit banking and getting into fitness training, what has been your journey? What are the key transformations that you would tell? Because as much as this is a competition, people will be showing off all the bodies and all of that. How well built they are, how chiseled and ripped they are. It's how your life changed in terms of health. Fewer doctor visits?
Yeah, for sure. Fewer doctor visits. Initially, before I got into fitness, I had something that most ladies would understand. It's called cysts. And cysts can be very stubborn because it's caused by hormonal imbalance and their growth within the system that can cause you, like, for example, I had crazy acne on my face, like just boils on my face, and I was throwing up. I couldn't drive. My girly days were hectic and all that. But with the training, I even went for surgery, actually. I did go for surgery, but 1 month after my surgery, I had another cyst the size of an orange. And the doctor's recommendation was I should go for another surgery. Now, if you have been through surgery, 1 month down the line, your stitches are not even properly, in fact, I got an infection, so my stitches...
This was what, a myomectomy?
It was laparoscopic.
Okay.
So the incisions were still raw, yeah, and the doctor was recommending I go back for surgery so that they can clean up again. So for me, I took time to get into study on how to help women, because I was like, this is too traumatic. I met a lady who had gone for 13 surgeries. That was too many surgeries for cysts. I cannot be going for surgery that often. And with that, I got into a study to try and help women as much as I possibly can, but it ended up growing more. So for me, the most rewarding part of my career is the number of people who we've been able to assist through fitness as a lifestyle. And of course, my medical is a very good example, because I used to check on my medical limits. Like really, like, okay, I cannot go to hospital again. We have to go over the chemist, and you know, in Kenya you can buy most of these things.
I mean, your employer as a banker then has given you a good medical cover, but you're blowing it.
Yeah, I'm blowing it. I have a good medical cover that should cover me, but I was blowing it. Right now, I thank God I'm only able to do checkups, clean my teeth, check my eyes. Like I'm literally taking myself to hospital for general checkup. I never used to do that.
Ah.
Yeah.
All right, very interesting that, she's mentioned that. Just reminded me of a program. One of our colleagues, Marie Yambo, does a program called Health and Lifestyle. And last evening she had a program, and it was actually just around this. It's actually about muscles, and I think most of the people affected are women. I'll be coming to that muscle, and because it's part of the training. Kelvin, yes. From the men's side, besides core body, the health and wellness aspects of this.
You see, as much as most people focus a lot on the aesthetics, it's only that now for you to make sure that you get that transformation, you have to adopt some healthy habits. And the healthy habits include now having a proper nutrition, and that's why we say bodybuilding is expensive, because it's it's 80% nutrition. So they focus a lot in functional eating. Functional eating is where now you don't focus on eating food for taste, but you focus on eating foods that are rich in the nutrients. So at this point, when you're having these nutritious meals, then it means you stand a higher chance of building muscle. And as much as you're building the muscle, there's a lot of good you're doing from the inside. And then other than the nutrition, there's also the exercising. There's the hydration. There's the sleeping, where you have to make sure you have enough hours to sleep. So it also helps in addressing things like your mental state or your mental health, and also your physical and your general health and wellness.
Very interesting to that.
Yes.
We can see now on the screens that we've seen the videos of all those competitors. You can see how the time that you take through that. For anyone who wants to get into bodybuilding, this is, like they always say, the journey is not, people look for, we're in a country where everyone wants an instant result, one way or another. But what's the correct journey for anyone who's getting into this? For example, you've been 10 years out. No exercise. The most thing you probably do is walk or carry something heavy occasionally. Your monthly shopping occasionally. But what's the right way to get into this? A regime, even for recreation, just for yourself, not to get, to the competition levels.
So on a personal level, I also do fitness consultation and body assessments. So I usually tell people it's just like driving. You can't just start by going on the, the road and put an L stick and start driving. You need to start with the theory. So the education bit is very important, because you need to understand your body type. You need to understand whether you're healthy, whether you have any underlying conditions. You could be in the gym and running in the treadmill, and perhaps you don't know you have blood pressure issues. So you first need to understand yourself from that aspect, your body type, your wellness background, if you have any underlying conditions, and then now from the body type, now that will translate towards knowing the right routine, which you can adopt, which is now more of customized, as just compared to just going and doing something that is copy and paste. You're copying what other people are doing. And then also when it comes to things like your metabolic rate, you have different metabolic rates. Just the same, you'll find some people putting on weight faster than others, and others who will hardly put on weight. So when it comes to nutrition, you also need to be eating different. So that's why I usually say the education bit is important. And then now when you now enroll in a gym, now make sure you're also relying on a good facility with a well-certified trainer so that you're basically in safe hands.
And to add on to that, I always highly recommend at least 3 days of resistance training, because muscle is an organ of longevity. And also, which means, I would like to interpret this, and it means that I might not be able to tell you how long you will live, but the quality of life is likely to depend on how much muscle you gather around you, which means it will help you with diseases. Trying to maintain muscle will help you with diseases, will keep them at bay, and will keep your strength, so you are likely to not get injured all the time, just with a simple sleep, or maybe just lying down and things like that. And those are things that happen. So with that in mind, which means you need to do some resistance training. They say around 150 minutes, but we can say 3 days if you can do around 40 minutes to 1 hour, 3 days in a week, and also to eat for the muscle, which means you promote intake of protein to be able to sustain the muscle development. Yeah.
Well, very interesting. Now, now the thing is this. Let me just give a scenario. Supposing I'm in shape, at times round is a shape.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to be politically correct. But say with my frame, I weigh probably 110 kgs and I just need to get, then the doctor tells me, Wahome, hii hapa, if you don't stay like this, very soon people will be, wondering what it is all about. Your heart going sideways, your blood pressure and everything. How then do you get somebody from that kind of weight, from say 110 kgs to say, if ideally I'm supposed to be 70, lose that 40, 45 kilos safely?
What I say is the local person's way of describing their inches loss is weight loss. But ideally you can be 70, remain 70, but with compact mass but smaller. So every time somebody comes to me that they want to lose weight, first I have to understand where they're coming from, the structure of their body, the composition of that body, because maybe you want to lose size and you're talking about losing weight, because that is the natural communication of what you want. But ideally maybe you need some little muscle mass and in a smaller container.
Okay, to say my trouser has suddenly become 40 by 40.
Yeah. So I educate the person, first of all, because I realize that most people get so stressed about their weight on the scale rather than the body composition. So I educate the person the difference between the body composition and the weight and their relation, because both can be true. After that, then we go ahead and go back to now what to do. And weight training, I always highly recommend weight training because it will get you the results faster, and good nutrition.
All right.
Yes,
That
sir.
transition, from a sedentary lifestyle to one active one, how do you help people go through that?
So first thing is, just like I said, it's the education. When you give it, when you
We've spoken about the education.
Yes.
Now there is what people should know is that
Yes.
it actually takes away.
It takes time. It takes
takes time.
Yeah.
And that's why you see when you subject somebody to a lifestyle change where they have little or no information, chances are they'll only be consistent, because this game relies heavily on being consistent. So they'll probably be consistent for a week or a month or two. But the moment you empower them and change their mindset, because the thing here is mindset, so that they're able to now attach or rather connect dots or have logical explanations around some certain habits they need to stop and some certain habits that they need to adopt, regardless of how hard it is. Once you help them change that mindset, now you put them on a journey. You put them on a journey now for transformation.
Habits to stop,
Yes.
at least.
For me now, I make it, it's more, it's more of a personal thing, because you can't just have, you can't tell everyone, you know, you can't apply the same formula for everyone. For some people, for instance, drinking, for some, they network, they do business through, you know, going for these functions where there's a drink, and you can't go, for instance, in a golf club where you're the only one taking water and everybody, people would look at you suspiciously, like you're in the wrong group, but probably
well,
you're
there are
there
those
to
who
network.
do.
So, for me, I would just preach moderation for some of these habits other than stop.
Okay.
And it also depends on your ultimate goal. Is it sports? Is it just recreation? Is it just health and fitness? So I wouldn't really say that you have to drop some habits, but it's dependent on your goal.
Those that must be adopted. Let's start with that. The must adopt.
The must adopt is clean or healthy eating, being, you know, staying hydrated, sleeping well, and making sure you move. You have to exercise, and at this point, just like my sister said, you have to embrace strength training.
Very good. Now let's come to that. And one of the things that people fear is pain, and there is the inherent, and then there is also the risk at times of, you know, muscle tears or something. How do you manage that?
One, the beauty of life is knowing pain, because through knowing pain, you're able to know the pleasures. Yeah, so it's something that we shouldn't run away from anyway. And for you to be different, you have to move different. And I can say for sure, living a healthy lifestyle is different and takes a lot of effort. This is the real do-it-yourself. You cannot send an employee to go and work out for you. And with that, this is something when you achieve, you really get that pride and happiness in your consistency. So this is something to embrace, not to run away from, because through that physical pain that you endure, you also gather mental strength that helps you in other aspects of life, not just in strength training. Because you'll realize whatever disciplines and virtues you achieve during your training period, they actually follow you in your day-to-day living. If you train and you give up, if you look closely at every project you're doing, it is reflected, actually. So every time you give up, just go back, backtrack and look at your projects, your main projects, you'll realize the same happens. So it teaches you a lot of grit and a lot of, you know, just being appreciative of your efforts.
Okay. Also to highlight on the pain, just to be a bit scientific, we yield muscle, or rather we grow muscle through repair. Because when you're training, there's tear and wear, so when it's repairing, that's how you're building. And you see, it's through the tear and wear, that's where you get the inflammation of the muscle, and that's where there's the pain, and you know, because coming out from the soreness. And to help in that repair, that's where you need to sleep well. There's the aspect of nutrition, because you need some healthy protein and things like glutamine to reduce the inflammation, and good hydration, and that's what now helps you to build muscle.
Managing, for example, what we would call the muscle cramps. I have seen elite athletes training, and after that there are sessions they may have with their physiotherapists. Others may, before I actually come, I mean, for the elite ones is when I'll be talking about ice baths. Not those who really want it. But let's talk about how how to deal with some of these pains that come through with everyday training. We know there is the aspect of no pain, no gain, but managing, let's start with the muscle cramps.
All right, we'll start with the simpler solution, which basically is stretching after your workout. What stretching does, it increases your elasticity, so over time, I mean, you're able to move a wider range before the deep tear happens, which is also good for you. The other thing is hydrating. It is underrated how much your system needs water, hydrating and rest for recovery. You have to be able to hydrate, eat well, and rest. Because if you don't give food to that body, remember the muscles you tore will not repair adequately and on time. And without enough sleep, you will not get proper repair.
Good.
Now, when you want to move a step further, or if your training is too intense, then now we go for physio. And what that helps, it helps out with just, massaging deep into the tissue to make sure there's proper blood circulation to enable repair. On top of that, some people may go for things like ice bath. Personally, believe it or not, even as an elite athlete, I have never done an ice bath, but that is on my fear for cold. Cold stuff.
But if I give you a cold glass of juice, you'll take.
Yeah, and I would do the ice bath if I have to, really. If my pains take me there, or if it's a solution for me, I'll do it. And it's something I've wanted to do. I'm just too scared.
I think she's nailed it. It's all about blood flow, making sure there's full range of motion of the muscle, and maybe to add to that, also about minerals, because there are also minerals like magnesium or the things that help in muscle health as well. So if their muscles are also lacking some of these minerals, you could also get those spasms.
Well, very interesting. Things that you were taught in high school and said they are boring is what we need every day. Now, let's talk about, and I'll just use a description of somebody who's got a proper six-pack. There is that line in the middle, and that's what I referred to from last night's episode of health and lifestyle, where at times you find that this muscle tears when people are doing that. How do you get somebody now back into training after some serious at times serious muscle damage may happen, which means it requires some different recovery? How do you help people go through that?
Well, abdominal separation can happen to both men and women, but it's more known to happen to women, especially during pregnancy. If the pregnancy is heavy, you're likely to get a tear. The tear can be as big as maybe 5 fingers, 4 fingers, and 4 we mean across. So if this is the tear, you put across like this, is that wide. Yeah, so or 2 fingers and all that. So abdominal separation is something that you have to be aware of, especially when working with somebody who has gone through it, because there are exercises that can exert more pressure, or if the person carries very heavy weight, they can the tear can continue. So which means you might have to bind it. You might have to bind it during the workout using a belt, but also apart from that, you may have to do workouts that help it, like rotating workouts. Instead of crunching workouts for abs, you do rotating workouts to be able to help the abs and also to try and bind it. Yeah.
All right. Now let's come into the real competitive one. What we are seeing on the screen, and those are the ones now everyone says they are competing. What's the process of getting to this level and start competing? For example, when I look at, say, boxing, they say there's a novice and intermediate before you can get to the elite amateur level. What's the process for this? And making sure somebody gets to this. And then after that, we'll come to the judge, to how the judging is done, because it's very subjective. Kelvin, let's start with you.
So basically, in all sports, we have those levels. You can come in as a beginner, then you can be on transition from beginner to intermediate, then there's the intermediate, then you can get into in transition to advanced, and then there's the elite or athlete. So of course, this takes time. So at this point, when we're saying it takes time, it means you need to be consistent in terms of now the training, the nutrition, and as you keep advancing your sport, that's where you'll get some people now turning to things like now the supplements to now reinforce their fitness level, the quality of their workouts, and also the aspect of building muscles or yielding muscles faster. And in just a matter of time, they're able now to be in that competitive space.
Actually, let's talk about, you've mentioned nutrition and supplementation. How do you balance this so that people do not, at times, replace food with supplements?
Yeah,
food will always come first.
Yeah, it's important to note that supplements nutrition. For example, I'll give a simple example, which is an example I normally give, is if you lack iron today and you needed additional iron, the doctor will give you an iron tablet, right? That is a supplement, an iron supplement. The doctor will not tell you, stop taking vegetables, stop taking liver, you'll only be taking this tablet for your iron, right? The doctor will still encourage you to do what? Take liver, take your green vegetables, and take this supplement, because it's supposed to boost your normal nutrition. Normal nutrition, vitamins, and whatever it composes cannot be replaced because remember, most of these supplements are made in factories, which means they are, if it's iron, it's iron. It does not have iron and other vitamins. You understand? So nothing can replace nutrition. You can only supplement as an in addition to your food.
The other thing is the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya at times, they've actually come to your space. I think some 2-3 years back, somebody was sanctioned. But what are you trying to encourage to ensure that whatever people use is actually safe in the long term? Some of the substances they may use may fall under the World Anti-Doping Agency prohibited list, but others may have some long-term effects.
All right, what I would do, I encourage actually any athlete to be aware of whatever they consume, because they can be subjected to tests at any given time. So it's normally put to the responsibility of the athlete to make that decision based on that fact.
Very
During
well.
the first and second season, you were very heavy on seminars, which were now the ones that we are using that platform for the education.
Oh yeah, so that people do not, just go by, they actually know. Na kwa nini, wacha niulize tu. Kwa nini hizo vitu zenu bana? Hakuna ile kadogo. It looks like all those things.
Kuna zenye ni ndogo. Kuna zenye ni ndogo. The only thing is that you see protein powder is like ni kama unga. So you see, it's a big, even the scoop is not small.
Gorogoro ya supplements, they all look huge. It's something that people have observed. Now let's come to how this judging is done, because we are taking a look. I mean, you've brought in the judges. Just looking at this, you've got one from the United Kingdom, Robert Phil. You've got Mr. Daniel's Luke from Portugal, and also you've got Firdous Devraji from the US. Just how
South
is
Africa.
From South Africa. How is the judging done?
The judging is basically done. The different categories have criterias. For example, there are those that need deep cut on muscle. There are those that don't need deep cut on muscle. There are those that need athletes to be bigger. There are those that need a particular aesthetic look. So there are different categories that have different rules on them. And then with that guidance, whatever the person presents on stage, again, somebody can have very good muscle outside here, but when they step on stage, the comparison shows different. Why? Either the athlete did not present the muscle well, or, for example, they are better athletes than themselves, even though they looked good. It's just like, for example, we can have an athlete who wins all championships in Kenya, but when they go and stand on, in another competition with different athletes, he doesn't rank, or she doesn't rank as well. So it doesn't mean that they didn't practice, but the environment enabled that.
Presentation, you've mentioned that.
Yeah.
How you present a muscle.
Yeah.
And so I'll allow you to just present your bicep.
My bicep.
Just
there.
as it is, so that we understand how, if you're going to present this,
Yeah.
how then would Kevin judge that?
Yeah. Well,
As compared to, okay, nothing here.
Yeah, just put it down. Yeah, so you see, when you have muscle here, I don't know if you're able to see really the muscle, but yeah, there's some muscle
it
there.
shows.
Yeah, as well. So if if you're told to do a double bicep, then definitely it will be popping, and it will be marked against another athlete who is also doing that right beside you there.
So you're all like this.
Yeah. So which means what is not properly defined is very visible. Yeah. So the different body parts are, scored. And after that, different judges make their score. If I'm a judge, I'm making my score. You're a judge, you're making your score. You're a judge, you're making your score. All these scores are passed on to somebody who is a statistician to do
an average.
Exactly.
So, okay, it's very part subjective, part objective, because it's now down to every judge and what they see. So key things that people will look at, because number one, kifua lazima itaangaliwa. So how, when it comes to what people call the wings, how then do you break it down, Kevin? Just take us through that. For example, the upper body judging. She's already talked about the biceps. No.
So there are usually some poses. So the judges will be directing for poses. If it's the back pose, there's the compulsory poses. So through those poses, that's how they are marked. So when you're, for instance, if you're told you give us back double biceps, so they will mark that. If you turn to the front, so regardless of whether your front is good, if you give us your back and you don't score highly, you're going to be marked down. So it depends basically on what you're being directed to present and how you're presenting it.
So how eventually do you bring an all-round athlete? Because we know at times, at times there are those cartoons you will draw where you have bulked up, but what you have is, for your legs is
so there's no perfect so there's no perfect athlete. So there's everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. So it's only that now when you're posing, you focus more on your strengths, and where your weaknesses are, you try hard probably to not get them revealed so that you don't get marked down.
All right.
All right. I think what you're trying to ask is how do we encourage someone to have an aesthetic physique in general?
Yes.
Like to present themselves in such a way that they don't look, the upper body is different from the lower body.
Body symmetry.
The body symmetry.
Yeah, no proportion.
You see that there is actually a word for body symmetry, actually. And it's, first of all, when you just walk into stage, are you symmetrical according to that category? Because again, categories are different and all that. So you will be looked at, and there's no category that will tell you, oh, don't train your upper body or don't train your legs. It just has to match whatever rules and guidelines for that particular category.
Oh, well, it's very clear. So if you're the person who usually lifts only with the right hand, just know you are going to fail from entry.
Yes.
Because you won't have the symmetry. Overall, expectations from the local athletes as we close this. Evelyn, you speak for the women, speak for the men.
Expectation from the local athletes is for people to buy tickets and come and cheer them. We cannot have a championship that is at home with little cheering. So they should go to ticketyetu.com and buy tickets for the bodybuilding show that is happening at Sarit Expo Center on the 12th of October, right? And at the same time, we want to win. I have seen amazing athletes. I don't know what Tanzania or Uganda or whichever other country Rwanda are bringing. All I can see is our athletes, and I'm amazed by the work they've put. They look incredible. They look like sculptures, really. So I am here cheering them on.
Works of art is what they've said.
So for the generally also for the women and men, but yes. So this
must we say tunaomba urudishe?
So this time round it will be very hotly contested. I'm sure even the number one, Mr. Majura, is not sitting pretty. He knows that there's a lot of heat coming from both, even Kenya and also Uganda, but also from Tanzania themselves. There are people who are working hard to dethrone him. So us as a committee, we're just making sure that we give them the best platform to showcase their art, to showcase their talent. And we'll also have a briefing on Friday, this coming Friday. We'll be doing our weighing in and also, prepare them for the event.
That's why you decide if somebody is a bantam, a lightweight, a welter, heavy, super heavy.
Yes, when doing the weighing in, that's where now they're going to be put into different categories.
Okay.
Yes.
What time is that?
For the weighing in, that will be on Friday. We'll have a media launch first, and then now the weighing in will follow next.
Okay.
That's probably from afternoon.
Finally,
Friday.
These people shine. Normally, we know nobody shines like that.
So
tunapaka tan.
It's a tan. So
See,
it's a tan that is meant to help.
Cooking oil ama baby lotion.
Back in the day, they used to apply baby oil and also the cooking oil. But of course, as times are progressing, people are now using more professional tans, which help to now reveal the muscle definition, the striations, and those deep cuts.
Wando walikuwa nasema kichipaka hiyo cooking oil naona nimeiva.
You look a bit bigger.
Sawa. So you've had it Saturday, 9 a.m. till late.
Yes.
A display of all those works of art. And remember, the one message that we've picked is that if you're going to go through this journey, there is nothing like delegating that aspect of it. It is down to you. It's more like signing a check where you're the only account holder. Yes. That's the way it is. Thank you very much. Kevin Mwangi, event organizer of the Mr. and Mr. Africa Bodybuilding Championships, Saturday at the Surrey Center. Evelyn Okinyi, she's actually been, top in Africa, and so now she wants more of you women to come in. So don't be afraid of going to put in the hard work. And she's actually spoken from a health perspective, a total transformation. And one of the things now she doesn't actually go for is surgeries. But at that point, all surgeons were your friends.
You even know that. Yes.
So you can actually, keep fit and keep the doctor away. Asanteni sana.
Thanks for having us.
All right. See you Friday and Saturday at the weigh-in. That's where we see them first, and then the action on Saturday. We take our first break now. And when we come back, let's talk about the bat, the ball, the crease, the wicket, and the stumps.
I never heard the music so sweet. I repeat.
Wagwan, me brethren, big things are going. Remember, each and every Monday we have to shell down the place with nothing but the best of smooth way the vibes in your favorite station. You know these things.
Alafu kila Tuesday, kata simu tupo side, giving you Kenyan music from the 254.
And of course, you can spice up your Wednesday by enjoying blazing hot hip-hop and R&B jams.
We don't got no label. She say she want bottles.
Vibes and vibes as we go all across Africa, Kenya, Nigeria, Ghana, all the way to Tanzania to give you nothing but the best on Afro Thursday. Make sure you make a date with us each and every single Friday with me, DJ_Liza Diva,
DJ Cold,
And me, Wanjiko. This is Club One Extra.
Unanifanya nisikie kunyongwa. Hadija ai, mani especially ukisonga.
Thank you for joining us on Healthy Living. Stay connected to Voice of America at voanews.com. A look at your kidneys and how they impact your health. And an expert discusses chronic kidney disease and how to protect yourself. And Ivorian psychologist Noor Bakayoko shares some insights on bullying and what can be done.
It's important to avoid major events or major health crises.
How do you know if your cough is due to a serious condition? We'll have some answers. Stay well
And strive to make every day a healthy day.
On KBC Channel 1, we are a TV station like no other. Get a taste of the best in entertainment.
Yes, indeed.
Feel the passion.
Will you promise me?
I swear that you will never lose me. I can't get married to you.
I'm sure you knew about it. That's why you're making fun of me.
Experience the drama.
Get out.
Who's the man in this one?
And the laughter. Move to the beat.
We are live from Broadcasting House.
And get informed on the latest happenings. KBC Channel 1.
Wow. Yeah!
We are the full package.
Oh, yes.
And Kenya's watching.
Thank you very much for joining us.
And welcome back to Sports Check on this Monday morning. It is the 7th day of October 2024. Well, we've just had that one conversation about bodybuilding, and within that hour we had our sign language interpreter Lenta Odingo, and now our sign language interpreter is Brian Muraru. Now, just keeping up, just an update of what we're keeping up with news-wise. Before we get into our conversation about cricket, number one, we know the developing story. The motion for the impeachment of the Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua, which was presented to the National Assembly by the Honorable Ekomas Mwengi Mutuse of Kibwezi West constituency. We know that yesterday, the Deputy President made his apology to the head of state, and that is a developing story. All eyes on that before that motion goes through the National Assembly tomorrow, and the National Assembly to decide if that motion could move on now and escalate to the Senate. And now, let's also take a look at the inaugural visit of the Cabinet Secretary in the Ministry of Public Service and Human Capital Development, the Honorable Justin Muturi, who is making a visit to the Huduma Kenya Secretariat offices, and this is at the Huduma Contact and Telecounseling Center, and this is at the Huduma Center, GPO, Nairobi. And also happening, and also in Nairobi at the Safari Park Hotel, the Kenya Revenue Authority is today launching the 2024 KRA Summit themed Powering Trade Facilitation and Domestic Revenue Mobilization in the Digital Age. Those in attendance will be the Prime Cabinet Secretary and also the Cabinet Secretary in charge of the Foreign Diaspora Affairs, the Honorable Musalia Mudavadi, Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury and Economic Planning, the Honorable John Mbadi, Kenya Revenue Authority Board Chairman, Mr. Anthony Maura, and the KRA Commissioner General, Mr. Humphrey Watanga. That is going on in Nairobi. Also, remember, look out. Everyone talks about the offices where people get elected. 5 governors, namely Governor Ahmed Abdullahi of Wajir, Governor Mutahi Kahiga of Nyeri, Governor Johnson Sakaja of Nairobi, Governor Joseph Ole Lenku of Kajiado, and Governor Muthomi Njoki of Tharaka Nithi. They're all looking at being elected the chairs, the next chair of the Council of Governors. And this is after the 2 terms. Remember, on the 30th, they presented their applications to be voted into these positions. And so a lot of, lobbying and trying to make their way, canvassing for this position has been going on. So let's find out who's going to take over from Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru. Part of the stories that we are keeping tabs on right here. Now, let's move on to another sport and cricket. Last week, Kenya, they hosted 5 other nations. And just to give you, let me just go through the list of the nations so I don't miss any. Well, Kenya hosted Papua New Guinea, Kuwait, Denmark, Qatar, and Jersey. And this was for the ICC Cricket World Cup Challenge League. And this is Group A, where Kenya played. It was a round-robin match, and it's going to be a series of 3 matches. The first round of matches played in Nairobi, the next to be played next in Jersey, and then there's going to be a 3rd qualifier, and this is the process of qualifying for the 2027 Cricket World Cup. Well, for Kenya, they're looking at breaking a 16-year jinx. The last time Kenya were at the World Cup, 2011, and that was in India. So 6 already. If you were to go by the 2023 World Cup, 12 years of waiting, another 4 on the pipeline. Somebody who knows what it's like to be playing at that very highest level, and he's now in charge of Kenya after, being a journeyman. His last outing outside of the country was Botswana. Joseph Angara, former Kenyan international. Joseph, Coach, welcome.
Thank you.
Well, let's just talk about, this journey and looking at how the build-up to 2023, because, you've got to follow this in as much as you are with a lower-ranked team. And for Kenya and, the kind of challenge that is there, looking at how much the game has changed, from when you played in the glory years of Kenyan cricket 20 years ago to where we are today.
Cricket has actually changed a lot from the days that we played. If you look at the analysts, all the things that have come into cricket, that analysts, all countries are putting so much into the game to make sure that the players are much more prepared going into all these qualifiers. So, looking at it let me just first start with one change that we've seen. Everything changed. Is a kind of scores. Everywhere people talk about cricket scores because, the runs may be 200 and something. But we've come from an era where 220 runs would be safe to an era where 220 runs is no longer safe in a one-day game.
the 50-over format, which is what we were playing. What has really led to this big change in scoring?
Even 300 is not safe anymore, leave alone 220. I think just the players have really upped their game, and people want to see the runs, and even the kind of wickets that are being prepared, people want to see runs. So the players are actually improving, the batting is doing well. So, I mean, the batters just need to up their games.
Well, for you, you are best known as a bowler. How much has the bowling changed, and how much pressure is on bowlers today? Because it's an aspect that, you know, everyone notices, especially with the shorter formats of the game.
Yeah, just to be jealous a bit, you know, as a bowler, I think the game has now changed to the batter's game, because, I mean, the kind of rules, you only have 2 bouncers. And
that's in one over.
In 1 over. So there's not so much of a bowler.
All right, just to make it easy for you, is that when he talk about a bouncer, is when the ball comes and above
shoulder height.
Above the shoulder height. So you can imagine, Joseph Angara was a fast bowler, so he could do a ball coming to you at 130 something kph, bounces, goes over the shoulder, and so you're only allowed 2.
2. If you bowl over the head, it's a wide ball.
It's a wide ball, yes.
Yeah.
So that's one of the changes. And what about this, that they now, every end, when you bowl from every end, there is a ball for each?
Leave alone that even in the power play, I mean, you can only have 2 fielders outside the 10 overs, so it's much more over batters. But it's only after the 40th over that you're allowed 5 fielders out. 5 fielders out. After 10 overs, that's the first power play, you can only have 4 fielders outside. So the batsman has so much advantage in the current game.
Well, so there you've had it, and that is, you know, some of the key changes that have been there. But let's look at the build-up to this Cricket World Cup Challenge League A. Kenya, not progressing past their division. We'll be talking about 2 years ago, 2022, because that's when the last round of matches were played.
Yes.
As we went into 2023. What's been the build-up, and, you know, seeing some of the players leave, for example, Collins Obuya, retiring after the African Games in Ghana earlier in March this year. But let's talk about how you've been getting the players ready for this kind of competition.
Actually, to be honest, this the challenge league we are playing now, the preparation is mostly in the NPCL league that all the players are involving, and we played the T20 early in the quadrangular that we had Rwanda, Zambia, and these other teams. So for now, I mean, the NPC League has been vital in our preparation, but we've not had like any other to play with other countries in the 50 over coming to this Challenge League.
Most of it has been the T20.
T20.
For example, and just before that, you played against Nigeria, were here?
Yes. 2 50 over games.
2 50 over games.
Yeah.
And you know, what were the lessons learned, especially about the mindset? Patience at times is required as much as it is explosive.
Definitely. I mean, like I said earlier, the 50 over, the players, all our players have been in the 50 over, playing in the NPCL League. Nigeria was good. Like, that's the only preparation we can say we played on a different position as a team. But coming in, we've just been playing all just internal games to prepare.
The NPCL League, quite a story that, you know, that is coming through, and you know, getting the players active. How do you keep going around, you know, giving the feedback to the coaches of the various sides? We talk about Lions, Canbis, Swami. How do you keep them, you know, informed of the players that you'd like to select for the national team?
I mean, that's part of the selection committee that do that job. For us, we train from Tuesday to Friday, and we have matches, so we kind of give feedback to the players, and we always tell them, I mean, we go to take the NPCL League seriously, because with the kind of funding that Cricket Kenya has, and I think that's part of it, that we didn't have preparation with opposition because of the control funding from ICC.
Well, and actually when he talks about control funding, is that the lower ranked you are when it comes to the International Cricket Council, the less funding you get. When you are full associate, will be in the region of what, $1 million. If you go down away from what, World Cup participation?
Yes, ODI status, so now
$250,000, that's $750,000 gone.
Yeah.
But overall, now let's just take a look at this event match by match, especially for Team Kenya. Your first encounter playing against Jersey, and what was your assessment of the boys from this one game, that everyone spoke about before I actually come to the story of Rakeb Patel, who had one of the best performances by a Kenyan player in almost 10 years.
Yeah, Rakeb has actually carried the Kenya team for a very long time. He's one of our senior players, and he's not just done it. He's done it by the bat, not with an example. So he's a great player that we really need still to look up into.
And this is where I'd like to come in. For his bowling numbers. I was just trying to get off the top of my head somebody who's taken 6 wickets for Kenya, and turns out it probably was him 10 years ago. But from the kind of pressure he gave the Jersey side, what is it that you picked up from him, from his style and that moment, and eventually coming back and scoring 84 runs? A huge performance from him in that contest.
That's where the experience comes in. I mean, he's played those guys, he knows their strength, so he actually wherever into that. He played into that and he got the wickets. Coming into batting, he's been batting so well. I mean, if you look at how we batted him, he's been like from 5, 6 and 7. So he comes in and he actually does his job. He knows his role into the team when he comes in. Does he need to accelerate or does he need to consolidate? And he's done that role very well.
Looking at it and looking at your options at the moment, you may need you need people who can get the team going very early in the game. What's the kind of mindset that you're working on? Trying to think of Duren, Mugabe, Sharma. What are you doing to make sure that they're steady? Oh yeah, and the potential of Irfan Karim can also play there. So what work are you doing to see that there is that steady?
We have actually given the players all their roles. Like if you look, we got Pushka, we got Rushabh and Mugabe, those are our opening batters. Then come in the middle order, the Rain comes in. So we actually just made a technical change to see how the Rain can do in the opening, which it actually did well. Some of the games he was a bit unfortunate to get out, but the middle order also very strong. When you have Rakeb, you have Irfan, you have Sachin Budia, Sachin Gill. So we actually have a very strong middle order batting.
Then also the kind of experience, the takeout from that, and now saying there is a momentum to build from your playing days. How are you able to keep up some momentum, given that in your days you were playing against the cream of the world? You play against India, Australia, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Zimbabwe, or even South Africa. But what kept you going and studying the opponents that you played? If, for example, you played Jersey game 1 and the next one is Denmark, what's the work that goes behind that?
One from our days, actually, I think we got more games. The exposure was good. We actually used to visit India 3 times in a year or twice in a year, which any time you go play in India, the kind of cricket that is there is so competitive. So when you come back and find other teams, I mean, it's kind of you roll onto them. But playing in India, we also had India professionals coming to play here in Kenya. So the league was competitive. International cricket, we used to visit and play more cricket than the current one now. And that's why, like I said, when your funding goes down, now such kind of things now come down. Yeah. But coming into your question about the Jersey and Denmark, maybe just say a little bit of momentum. We played Jersey, then we had 3 days rest to come and play Denmark. So it's kind of...
slows you down.
Yes.
But looking at the experience, Denmark, what is it that they brought into this? Because, it could just have lifted up their spirits, but eventually we know that after their first round of matches, they are ranked below Kenya. What was it from that game that you picked up that needed to be dealt with urgently before the other encounters that you are to play against Qatar, Papua New Guinea, Kuwait?
I think that's one game that it's actually the same as PNG. I think we didn't feel properly. We lacked at one between 30th over to 40. We lacked that killer instinct. We had the game in hand, but then it's like on and off. But we could have taken our chances, and I think we could have won that game.
One of the things that we've seen, you played a team against Kuwait, but when you look at the names, it's the risk that comes with the sport, where cricket says it's the country in which you live, the domicile rather than the pure passport thing. What is it that you've seen about Kuwait and things that they may be rubbing off from, say, the UAE and probably Oman in their region?
There's so much migration from players. Actually, see a lot of Indians playing these other countries. So everybody wants to play international cricket, but that's not an excuse. We just need to do what we need to do right. And I'm saying again, the players currently need to get exposure. We need to play more different teams before we actually play in the tournament. And that's one thing that we're also lacking. Like we come into the tournament and that's like, you cannot experience much. Rather than when you play friendlies before a real tournament, you can experiment like your combination. Now, but when you come now to the tournament, you actually know, okay, this is what we need to do.
Well, combinations really do work interestingly. Also playing against Qatar, this was a close game. You were Qatar low scoring from them, but also they tried to control Kenya's approach. Kenya's run chase. And what are the things that your batting team is learning, especially when you've got such a low score, but you feel that chai ya saa 10 nataka nikunywe nyumbani?
Actually, you can't take it away from Qatar. I think they bowled really well, and when you lose 2 wickets in the power play, it actually sends pressure to the middle order. So now, like I said, somebody like Rakib, the middle order, they need to come and accelerate rather than consolidate. But now when they come and take the role of the top order batting, then the pressure piles in. So that's kind of the reason things we need to work on especially on chasing targets.
And how do you get, especially for some of the young players? We know because your team is actually a mix of experience and youth. When I look at Shem, Rakeb, and probably if I bring in Mugabe, are you trying to see that this rubs off them, the senior players who eventually have got to depart at some point?
Wahome, if you look at this tournament, you had 5 debutants.
Yes.
Who are playing in the 50 over. So it's one of the areas we need to look at. Mugabe has come in well. He could only be able to play 2 games. So when Rushabh comes in, Rushabh is one of the experienced players.
Yes.
So got that opportunity. So the team is good with the young and experienced players. So the combination at the moment is very nice.
So let's now also talk about the last game you played, Papua New Guinea. Everyone has seen Papua New Guinea rise, and what's giving this team the kind of momentum they have, such that as the top now in League A, they are right at the top, up there, and everyone's asking, is this the team now to beat?
I mean, credit to the players in the last game that we played, to our Kenyan players. I mean, the kind of scores that were being scored at Gymkhana were 300 plus. So for us to score 268 and to lose in the last over was a very good fight from the boys. We could have done better, to be honest, and I think like the base, we actually lost that game through the basics. I mean, we didn't field well. To drop 5 catches in a game, that was a crime.
Well, and a coach says it is a crime, then you can actually tell that. But with 3 balls to spare coming down to it, what is it that you saw towards the end of this tournament when the team was playing the matches, every other day? What kind of action and, conversations were you getting? Or was the team telling you, coach, tufanye nini? Or is there a point when you'd see them get together?
Yeah,
and decide to roll?
Yeah, it's a team discussion that we look at the wicket, we look at the condition of the day, and we decide, okay, do we bowl or do we bat? But towards the end of the tournament, you could see even the wickets were wearing out. So most of the teams want to quickly bat. They want to bat. We had a longer batting lineup, and we also said, despite losing the toss that day, we wanted to bat. And we are looking at putting a score of 300 plus, and definitely we were confident to defend that score.
Well, 200 and yes, scoring 258 for the loss of 9 wickets. It was that, and something else that I would like to people to understand. This is a 50 over game, but when you get to the International Cricket Council, the ICC, they call it a list A. Just clarify to the public why everyone will say this is an ODI, but they call it a list A. What's that classification that they're giving?
There's list A and list B. I mean, like category, like you see Uganda is on the other B league. We're on A. So it's like just a pathway to the World Cup. So we are listed in that. I think that's the best way I can explain it.
Well, just one level before what would be called
Before
full
ODI status.
ODI status.
Yes.
So looking at it and from the lessons learned from all of this, because this is how the table standings are after the first round of matches. Jersey top 8 points, and they won 4, lost 1. Papua New Guinea are second, also 8 points, but you know the run rate is different. And then Kuwait are third, and Kenya are fourth. The next round of matches, Jersey 2025. 3 years ago, I think it's a tournament that I think Kenya won all their matches in Jersey. Quite a story, a remarkable story, but I know it got lost because it was around election time and there was Commonwealth. But from now, for some of these players, what's the most that you'd like to see, you'd like to see the players do, even as a unit, to make sure that they gain ground and can start collecting the points in the next 2 rounds of matches?
I think number one, we need to be more consistent in our execution. That's the key, and exposure to play, go out and play different opposition before. So we just need to carry on, and also fitness levels need to rise up, especially in the 50 over.
Let's talk about fitness levels. You had Mike Kosgei as your coach?
Then, yeah.
As your coach then, when he was a player. And Mike Kosgei, by the way, he is an elite athletics coach, seconded to the Kenya team 27 years ago into the late 90s, early 2000s, where he was their fitness coach. What were the lessons speak from Coach Kosgei then that you would like to see transferred to the younger players such that they can spend an entire day on their feet at these grounds?
Fitness is key to cricket. I mean, if you're running into a ball, if you're taking runs in the wicket, so it actually keeps you mentally fit. It helps you in your game. To be able to spend 20 overs in the crease, you need to be fit. To be able to bowl 10 overs in a game, you need to be fit. To bowl 10 overs and you're also spending the 3 hours in the field, fitness levels must be up.
Just give us your story with Coach Mike, because you know it is said that one of the things, one of the biggest stickouts all of you have taken is, the fitness levels you attained. You never thought that you would reach them. I mean, would be achieved at that point. What is your daily, regime with the national team that, you take through them before you even now start using the bat, the ball and all that?
Our warm-up was 10 laps. Until one time we asked, are we going for Olympics to run? And he told
10 laps at Gymkhana?
At Gymkhana. That's a warm-up.
That's about 4 kilometers.
Yes, that's a warm-up. And he said one time he made a joke, guys, run. If you die, I'll bury you. So, I mean, he just brought in that energy for everyone just to believe in yourself. Run, guys. There's no shortcut to this game. If you're fit enough, you guys are going to win. And actually, he took that, whatever he was saying, when you're fit enough, you can do anything. So we believed in it, and we just carry on. Every day you come in, the first thing you do, it's like even our warm-ups were just competitive.
Wow.
Yeah.
How competitive would you describe? I mean, just describe how competitive they were, because this now gets interesting here.
I mean, okay, I'll just give an example. Like we had like these 7 bowlers. You have Martin Soji, you have Thomas, you have Tony, you have myself, you have Lamek, you have Peter. It's like, who's the fittest? The fittest guy is the one who plays the next game. So that kind of mentality, you come in with it, okay, I need to be fit. So it was something that you're growing in every day. We used to come, I mean, you bowl 4, 5 overs on the trot to batters, and it was nothing. So we had that energy in us.
Now, what about for the batsmen? Because these are the people who, you talked about staying for 20 overs. And if I'm looking at 20 overs times 5, that's 100. I mean, probably an hour and a half, or even, for longer. How do you keep them fit such that they are able to run with their protective gear and also their bat?
Yeah, like when we're doing our training sessions, we have like, some training that, okay, after every 3 balls, you go to run 3. So that speed and endurance comes in. So
that is when you're fully kitted?
Yeah, when you're fully kitted. So
how many kilos?
I can't guess. That is almost 2 kgs.
2 kgs.
The pads, you got the helmet, you got the gloves,
So that's a minimum of 5-6 kilos extra weight on top of your body weight, and you've got to run with that.
Yes, but the players also, we got gym sessions that we go to, so just builds onto that also.
Now let's talk about the 5 debutants, that have come in. All of them have got to play eventually. Their story is one that they will always tell. Anytime you get that cup and the NPCA League, what is it that you're seeing from them, improvement by improvement, such that the selectors are now able to call them up on their availability?
I think the only debutant, actually, we had the only debutant who didn't play was Francis Mutua, so he didn't get his chance. But somebody like Mugabe, Sachin Gill, Gerald Mwendwa.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, they've done well. I mean, the 2 games that Gerald Mwendwa played, he really showed the intent that he's ready at the top to play international cricket. He's only been playing T20, but the 50 over is something different. Yeah, that your mindset need to be ready, and the boy showed that he's ready. Sachin Gill is another one who came in, who's a good bowling all-rounder. He's a good add to the national team. So going forward, I think we are ready. We just, like I said again, we just need a bit of exposure with different teams, and we should be doing well in the next leg.
The shorter version of the game, let's talk about the T20, because these are the opportunities that tend to come around quite much from the matches that you played in the build-up. What is it that you saw with that shorter version?
Shorter version is intense. It's T20. You got to be fit, and our execution has got to be at par. Especially like we give ourselves in the first power play, which is only 6 overs. We've given ourselves targets of how much do we want to score. So like we're going back now this coming week, we need to start working on those kind of targets, achievable targets. And we are very realistic with the targets that we want to achieve.
The region now, we know when it comes to this competition and the opportunities that may be available. Let's start with a country, for example, like Uganda. Uganda got the opportunity to play at the T20 Cricket World Cup. And at the moment, in your playing days, Uganda was not on your list of places, to go to, or teams to play against. But now, coming into this region, it's getting more, the T20 version is getting common, Joseph. But let's talk about what you're seeing from these teams. Because we occasionally see Kenya play against Uganda, you do win, but where is the real sting in the T20 for Kenya? It looks like you've picked up the rugby bag, 7s in, 15s out.
To be honest, Uganda have worked on their game, credit to them. And of course, yes, they've got those players like Rezat Ali and Nakarani who've been very consistent, who've been won games for them. At the moment, Uganda, yes, are going to play in the League B. They're in South Africa, training, preparing. Those are the kind of exposure that we also need. Yeah.
So here we are. And also now for the players who are here, what are the conversations that you're having, for them to get more opportunities? I know your playing levels were out there, but what's some of the conversations that you're seeing besides the NPCA League? That people are saying, let these players have the opportunities to play, even if it's, how would you say, Kenya A, Kenya B playing amongst themselves?
Yeah, Cricket Kenya is working on these structures to have like 4 or 6 teams, franchise teams, that all our players who want to play international cricket need. Like we'll have your national team there, your Kenya A, and even under 19. So once you have those 6 players, that will be a basis of picking your national teams. So that is in progress, and we've actually insisted on that to happen. We have to start something at home first before we go out.
Well, one of the things that is for you is age grade cricket. It's something that you've done in Botswana. For the time that you were in Botswana and coming into the country. Just give us, the right way to introduce players to this sport. Because the people say it's a very technical sport. You don't just pick it so easily unless, there is an odd person. But how do you get people introduced to this?
We got school programs. And school programs, we've even taken now cricket to the counties now. Cricket is in the county, Vihiga, Kisumu, Muranga, Nakuru, cricket is playing. And also an advantage, there's ECD that David Waters is actually being done so well to introduce cricket into schools. So we got also academies that are coming in. So it is also all, like you said, introduce them to cricket. Start it when you're young because of the technicalities in the game. But once you know the rules, regulations of the game, it's easy to go.
For anyone who'd like to do, we know that, we know Busia, there's a lot of activity that's been there. There's Vihiga County, we know that's happening. Kisumu, Siaya and Homa Bay, they've been doing that. Kajiado also. To take the sport out there. What are the things that would be required for anyone to run a sport like this, from the start? We know that professional gear may be very expensive, but how do you get this going?
Mostly our coaches, development coaches, sometimes you start with the education, cricket education. You have to go and educate the teachers about the cricket because they're the ones who spend most of the time with the kids in school. A coach will go like twice in the school in a week, but the teacher is there throughout. So first thing we do is to educate the teachers about the game. So when you leave, there's the cricket ball, the cricket bat, and the stumps for them to carry on with. So when you come back next time to that school after even 2 weeks, you just need to observe what has been happening. So you just need to patch up those. But the most important thing is cricket education.
Cricket education there, you've had it very much. And what are some of the little success stories that everyone may talk about when it comes to this, such that we see schools cricket growing and becoming a feature of everyday sport in the country?
A lot of boys have come through that. I started coaching Francis Mutua at the Madari 4A behind there. Gerald Mwendo started at Kawangware. He's playing international cricket now. That is part of the development program that Cricket Kenya has done throughout. Yeah.
Now, let's also, the conversations that you have with teachers, such that they're able to understand all of these things, such that if you are there on a Tuesday and Thursday, you know that you can you're doing a lot of background monitoring. How are you able to see the progression of the youngsters as this happens?
Yeah, mostly it's the basics. Like when you start with the cricket education, there's intro course. That is just fully basics. Like intro course, you only do like 5 ways of dismissal. The most common ones, like the bold, the caught, the stamp out, the run out, So we normally keep it basic so that then slowly, they build up to level 1 to level 2. But look, you go to a school and say, this week I only want you people to do bowling. So when you come out next week, you see, okay, what are we looking at? Is their head still? Is their front arm? Are they not bending their elbow? Is it straight? So those are the things now when we go, you just correct.
Very easy because everyone says, hii kurusha tunajua kurusha si tunarushanga.
Sio kama mawe.
Actually, because you've mentioned something very interesting, because for any teacher who's there, I know there are some who are taking a little bit of a break because we're headed into the examination time in the country. You mentioned 2 things that everyone's talking about. Are you bending your arm? Is your arm straight? And also, is your head still? Just from where you are, just in slow motion, you can demonstrate so that people fully understand what this is all about, so that they don't say, hii ni kurusha tu. Ndio hii. Kurusha tu. Just do that, just that demonstration.
Like you go to a school and you just tell the kids, put your hands like this. That's one. Because you see my palm is facing up.
Yes.
Those are the things you look at. When you do like this and you want to come and bowl, when you come here, what do? You're bending your elbow. But from this, like just a pendulum, just need to bowl. So try and brush your ears, just bowl straight. So see the front arm and the bowling arm. Yeah, you just start there, then straight on, just a coordination.
So this means I will bend.
No, when you do like this, when you come here, what happens? You'll have to change it.
You'll have to change
it. Don't need to change it. Just hold the ball like we normally start with the grip. Yeah, run up. The gather, it's there, then the bowling action and follow through.
Well, some things we don't take, some things, when you just take a look at it, you think it should be everyday life, but when it's like this, it actually flows naturally.
Yes.
But if I change to this or this, then eventually I end up bending the arm unknowingly.
Yeah.
And
so bending the arm, throwing is like, no, you come and throw it from there. We don't need to throw. You need to release that release point from up there.
Okay.
Just release the ball, yeah.
Head bob, the bobbing of the head and what it does. Because that's what most people look.
Yeah, see, sometimes you come, when you want to ball, you want to do this. So where does this end up going? The coordination again gets lost. So you end up throwing the ball there. But you're running in straight, you're there head still, and just ball straight. Try and brush your ears. We try to keep it simple.
Well, brushing the ears is a movement. Now, when it comes to the batting, what are the things that you do to make sure that people are light on their feet? One of your former teammates, he gave a phrase I'd never heard about. He said that at times, anaangaliwa ni kama mtu amevaa longi side moja. It's like you have both feet on one side of your trousers. No movement of the feet, basically.
Yeah.
How do you get people agile and easy on their feet?
We keep it super simple. Kiss. Basics. First, start with the grip of how you hold the bat. You can even find sometimes you're a right-hander and you're holding the bat like this. So we insist how you pick the bat from the ground. If you're a right-hander, start with the right hand, then the left hand, because this is the hand that hits the ball. After the grip, take your stance. Your legs need to be parallel onto the ground when you're starting. There, parallel. Okay? Then your back lift. Watch the ball, head still, watch the ball. Keep it there. Sometimes you only go and do those basics even without hitting the ball. Once you're ready, it's called a setup. Good setup means ready. Good setup is a good execution.
So that means ideally for, okay, I'm right-handed.
Yes.
So that means this is the arm that controls.
Yes.
And this is what gives me the stability.
Ball, this is the control. It's like you want to play there, the top hand. If you want to play it on the ground, the top hand. If you want to play up, the bottom hand comes into for elevation. If you hold the bat like this, execution, where does it go?
So ideally, this is now for the left-hander.
Yes, that's for the left-hander. Now there are river.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now there's somebody else you've got to look. He's always right behind there, acts like a goalkeeper, the wicket keeper. What are the things that you look for that person?
Fitness. A wicket keeper must be also a good fielder, because he watches. If you're playing 50 over, how many balls are there in 50 over? That's 300.
300
balls.
Minimum.
Yeah. So fitness level, eye on the ball, his stance also got to be very good. Yeah.
Well, and just on the picture you saw is that the wicket keeper is a person who's got, the number one jersey, interesting, almost like a goalkeeper. But overall, coming into the development with the youngsters that you're seeing are playing in the lower divisions of the NPCA League, and also playing, trying to break through to the national teams through the under-19s. Where is the future of this country's cricket going? Because at times we see, the numbers can be huge. Even I'm sure your fans were mainly the development players.
Yes. We just need a strong development program, and this also will come if you can get sponsorship from well-wishers to come and sponsor our development program. Cricket is not cheap. To buy one ball, I'm sure you know the prices of one ball in the cricket bat. One kukubura will cost you almost 20,000 Kenyan shillings, one ball. Yeah, you need a bat. We don't have so much of facilities here. Sometimes you have to get them from India. So that again comes in. That's why but yes, development program, we start with the plastic bats and the tennis balls and the wind balls for cricket. If we can have these facilities into schools, in school we start playing. The school program is normally mini cricket, that's 8 overs, that's one in a day, but it's good enough for progression. That's why you start with the tennis, then you progress to the hardball cricket.
Well, very interesting. Well, some time back, we had a conversation with somebody in a sport that has got action that is almost similar to cricket. I mean, we're talking about golf. How do you encourage these youngsters? For example, we know that if you use the full length of that pitch, at times it's not possible for them. How do you, advance the length of, keep increasing the length of that playing surface so that, such that the players, are able to develop the technique right and know when to use how much force or to control that force whenever playing?
Skill work comes in, but actually if you look at the under 10 length of the crease is different from the seniors. It's only after under 15 that they play with the full length like for the seniors. But junior level, the crease length of the wicket is decreased so that it suits them.
Around how many meters would you be looking
22 yards, I mean, that's for the seniors. But for the other ones, it's like 18, so that they can be able to bounce, because the ball needs to bounce once before it reaches. But from that 22, that 7-year-old boy will struggle to make the ball bounce to the other crease if it's that long.
Okay. Well, there you have it. And Angara, as we come to a close, you know, for a call to the people that, you know, you would like to see getting more into cricket. You know, there's a lot of activity that we see. Nakuru at one point providing half the women's team. Mombasa had a very vibrant cricket scene. What's the vibe to everyone who would like to support the sport and bring it back up to the real competitive levels you know it for?
One is well-wishers. Sponsors needs to come in and support the game. For me, I've always believed a strong development program is a strong national team. If you're playing enough cricket at your junior level, going through the pathways from under 15 to under 19 to your Kenya A, by the time you reach there, you've played enough cricket. And it makes you also mature. So once we have that sponsorship, I think our cricket needs to come in.
Very well, you've had it from Joseph Angara, and he's with the national team. They were playing in the ICC World Cricket Challenge League A, and 2025 is when you're going to play another 5 rounds of matches against the same opponents that they face: Papua New Guinea, Kuwait, Denmark, Qatar, and Jersey. The next stop is Jersey.
Yes.
Well, let's hope that it turns out to be as good as it was 2 years ago. I mean, it was where Kenya won 5 out of 5 and rack up the points and see if they can now get to knocking on the doors for the Cricket World Cup. Thank you very much, Coach. Time for us to take a break. Coming up next, Kurunzi Mashinani, followed by Tamrini. Your host is Nancy Okware. Our sign language interpreter has been Brian Muraro. Have a good day.
The dhow business is common in the coastal region, but yeah, we have one in Lake Victoria in Kisumu. Join me as we enjoy the experience